Okay, digging up dahlia tubers is still, pretty high up on my list of things I don't like doing on my flower farm. But at least it's sunny today. It might be the only sunny day this week. I probably should have got Pauline in to help because, I don't think I could get it all done in one day by myself. But yesterday was brutal, so windy and so cold, and I think we're going back to rain tomorrow. But what's making this better is the sheer amount of compost I added to this row in the spring. And this is just it makes me so happy, even though I've done this for a few years, is when I plant my dahlias in all that compost, most of the dirt just comes off. But for so many years, I was planting into this clay, and it would come out in such a heavy clump of clay with the tubers inside, and the clay would not come off. So I still find so much joy in popping the tubers up, and then there's very little dirt stuck to it, so it just makes the tubers lighter, and it's way easier to get them all into the barn without breaking your back. Oscar, what are you doing? Oscar, get out. Get out. Out. Get. Why are you going in there? Okay, out. All the way. Out of here. Stop it. Come on. Get out. So I've been looking at my field this year, and I think, oh man, I wish what I was doing now is something I had started 20 plus years ago. We started farming, and I thought we added compost to my field. We had a manure spreader, and we were putting a decent amount of our own compost on the field, and we were doing cover crops. And I thought we were doing what we needed to do to improve the clay soil, and I thought every year it would get better. And then it didn't. I actually felt like it was getting worse. My plants seemed sicker or not as vibrant. They weren't getting as big as I thought they should have, and I just felt like it was a struggle. And now I'm like, I think I get it. I still think there's probably lots I need to learn, and in 10 years I'll be like, I wish I had done that. But I am thrilled with what's happening in my field now, and I actually love the way I prep my beds and the way I clean them up in the fall. So I think there's I don't know, it's hard to explain what I've really changed, but it kind of comes down to three things, and one of them is compost. I talked about it already. I put my dahlias, when I plant them, I put a lot of compost in that row, and that's what I've done initially as I've changed all my rows here to no-till. That first year I put a lot of compost in, and then every year past that I just skim coat it. So hopefully I'll have to buy in less compost in the future, but that very first year it gets a lot of compost. Okay, I think the second thing is cover crops. I have done cover crops for the last 20 plus years, but not to this extent. This for sure, I don't know, for sure the second year, once I get these dahlia rows into cover crop, but maybe 3 years now, I have to look. But every row will have a cover on it. Most of them will be in a variety of cover crops, but then a few will just be mulched with the leaves, like the dahlias that I'm overwintering. But every row will have a cover on it, and I don't think I did that. It's only been the last few years where I really put a huge effort into getting cover crop on everything. Okay, and I think the third thing is I stopped tilling. This is now my second full year of not hooking the tiller up to the tractor, and I didn't use it at all out here this year or last year, and I don't miss it. Instead, I've switched the tiller for my push mower or my riding mower. So if I want to knock back something, instead of tilling it under, I just mow it down. And then if like I want to sow cover crops, I used to wait till we could skim till it in. So I would spread the seed and then would run the tiller over it. But now I use compost, and I just put a thin layer of compost on top. And actually, there's some rows here that I didn't have time to do it, and I just put cover crop seed on top, and it's germinating, and I didn't even use compost. So I don't need the tiller, and I don't need the tiller to prep rows in the spring. That was actually part of the problem, is I couldn't get on the field early enough to till, to prep a row. So I just make sure those rows, like where I want to put Lisianthus next April, they are all in cover crops right now, and they will all die. Like those cover crops will die this winter, and it's already had a skim coat of mushroom compost on top, and they're ready to go. They'll be ready to go next April. I can just right away plant and not have to do any other prep work on those rows. And you can see the difference between these two rows. This is where there was dahlias. I had put all that compost in, so there's a lot of compost on top. And I think, yeah, years ago I would have put cover crop in here and just raked it in, but my soil was never this nice where I could just run a rake over it and get the cover crop seed into the top soil there. But the difference is this side was a mess. I just mowed it down. Tons of weeds in here, but I don't care. Weeds aren't a bad thing. I think years ago I was just so concerned about weeds, and I thought, well, till it under, try to kill them that way. But they're here. They're gonna just germinate again next year. So I just mow it down. I keep all those roots in the soil. I'm not running the tiller through and killing the life in the topsoil there by turning it around. Instead, I think of the weeds as a good thing. Let their roots live. Let their roots do good things, and I just on top of that add in cover crop that I want, so there's something still growing through the winter here, and then the thin layer of compost. Okay, I am super happy that the sun came out today. It rained yesterday, and it's going to rain tomorrow. And actually the 7-day forecast does not look great. So I had 3 rows left to dig up. They are dug. Some of them have to dry out. They're pretty big clumps, so it's pretty heavy, but I have the afternoon yet for that to happen. And then I can do cover crop on those rows hopefully in the next week, depending on how hard it's raining or not. But so the rows aren't ideal yet. Like they're not all coming out as beautiful, clean clumps. Some of them are pretty heavy with clay, but it is definitely getting better. And yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say this week, is that I wish I had known that I could flower farm on this scale without tilling, and that I just thought with clay I had to till and I had to do what we were doing to make it work. But it's totally possible to maybe you want to till the very first year. Like we turned this was a hay field that we turned into my bed, so tilling that first year was probably helpful. But you can do this all without tilling, like compost, mulch, cover crops. And I think it really comes down to time. Like I know I have a number of years to still work on this before it will be like really amazing, but I am so happy with where I have, like how far we've gotten. I was actually reading last night on like the five pillars to good soil health, and I think I'm nailing them all. And again, they said it takes a lot of time, but it was minimal soil disturbance, covered beds, living roots. Shoot, I know the last one was animals, so with the chickens are covering. There was one more. Living roots, covered soil, minimal disturbance. Oh, plant diversity. And I think with crop rotation and the variety of cover crops I'm putting in, I think I'm nailing that too. So yeah, but I felt pretty good when I was reading the article. Anyways, it's not a very exciting week here on my farm. It was really just digging up dahlia tubers and trying to get cover crop in. yeah, in between the crappy weather. So I think now I'm just going to move the chicken coop out of here before it gets any wetter in my field. I'm going to bring them up closer to the barn, and then hopefully, yeah, over the next day or two, I can get cover crop seed in here without them being a pain. So I'm going to label this before I put this down again. But yeah, thanks again for hanging out with me and listening to me talk about how excited I am about the direction my soil is going. I hope you had a good week as well, and I'll see you again next time.